resolution. It is A. It's A on the regular agenda. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners business meeting for Tuesday, June 15, 2021. It is now 1:31 in the afternoon. Would you all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's a little cooler inside here than it is outside, so thank you for joining us. Mr. Ingalls, do we have certification for everything on today's agenda?
We do, Madam Chair. My office has reviewed all items on today's agenda, and they all meet legal approval.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. Do any commissioners have any items of disclosure for this meeting?
I have none, Madam Chair. Thank you.
No, ma'am.
And I have none either. The first item on today's agenda is citizen comment. These are comments for any item that is not on the consent or the regular agenda. Does anyone in the room have anything they would like to address the board about?
Thank you.
Seeing no one come forward, Troy, is there anyone online?
I have no hands raised.
Thank you, Troy. Thanks for joining us today. The next item is the consent agenda. Is there anything that any of the commissioners need to talk about on the consent agenda? Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the requests in all items A through U of the consent agenda.
And I'll second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to the regular agenda, 4A. Number A is one that has been of interest to commissioners, businesses, numerous people across the state. This is a resolution opposing Colorado ballot 2022 initiative number 16. It is titled Protect Animals from Unnecessary Suffering and Exploitation. Commissioner Teal, would you like to read the resolution, please?
Yes, ma'am. Whereas according to the Colorado Department of Agriculture, Colorado agriculture is spread across 38,900 farms and ranches on nearly 32 million privately owned acres. Agriculture in Colorado contributes $47 billion annually to our economy and employs more than 195,000 people. And whereas agriculture contributes to $18.9 million to the county's economy, and whereas cattle and calves top the list of the state's agricultural commodities, and whereas on April 7th, 2021, the Colorado Secretary of State Title Board ruled Colorado State Ballot Initiative Protect Animals from Unnecessary Suffering and Exploitation Initiative 16 Pause Act could begin gathering petitions and signatures, and whereas the proponents for Initiative 16 Pause Act only need to submit 125,000 valid signatures by October 18th, 2021 to the Colorado Secretary of State for the initiative to make the 2022 Colorado ballot, and whereas the proposed changes to the Animal Cruelty Code and imposition of a new definition of animal lifespans for cows, hogs, and other livestock have caused ranchers to voice their concerns about the detrimental impact these changes will have on the livestock industry, and whereas there is strong bipartisan opposition to Initiative 16 Pause Act, and whereas Initiative 16 Pause Act will cost the state of Colorado approximately $200,000 and require additional staffing within the Department of Agriculture to assist in animal cruelty investigations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners encourages county voters to oppose efforts to gather the necessary signatures to place Initiative 16 on the 2022 Colorado ballot and refuse to sign said petition if asked. And be it further resolved that the board strongly opposes the known detrimental impacts on agriculture, jobs, and the economy that Initiative 16 will impose. And be it finally resolved that the board hereby formally opposes the signature gathering and potential passage of Initiative 16 on the 2022 Colorado ballot. Read this day, this 15th day of June 2021 in Castle Rock, Colorado, Board of Douglas County Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. You're obviously very practiced at reading resolutions, so thank you. You did a nice job.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Are there any comments before we open citizen comment?
I'll reserve my comments following public comment.
Likewise, ma'am.
And I will too. So we are going to open this up for citizen comments. Are there any citizens in the room who would like to come forward? Please give us your name, spell your last name and your address, please.
Hello, my name is Jerry K. Lockwood, Lockwood. I am the owner of JKL Performance Horses located in Parker, Colorado. I breed and raise quarter horses. I show these horses around the nation. It is a high-priced business. Horses do fall under livestock. It's funny that the bill does not say that, but horses do fall under livestock. Recently, while breeding my mare in January, we found out she had 5 infections in her uterus. If this passes, I would have to take her out of state to receive veterinary care. We also do embryo transplants. My mares are worth $250,000 plus, so we do not let them carry their own babies. So artificial insemination would not be allowed in the state of Colorado, nor would be flushing embryos to put into recipient mares. So all of my operation would have to move to either Texas or Oklahoma. So I ask you please to openly oppose Proposition 16.
Thank you, Ms. Lockwood. I'm just going to state for the record that as soon as this started happening, Jerry called me and left a long, impassioned voicemail for me, begging the commissioners to oppose this. So thank you for your efforts. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to address the board on this topic? Mr. Anderson, if you give us your name, spell your last name and your address for the record, please.
Thank you. My name is John Anderson, Anderson, and I'm a resident of Douglas County. Was in law enforcement, so my address isn't really important right now. Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioner Teal, Commissioner Thomas, Mr. Layden, and citizens of Douglas County. I'm John Anderson. I've lived in Douglas County for 65 years. I'm involved in several businesses. And one of those is the cattle business, and I'm the owner, operator, manager, laborer, whatever you want to call it, of one of the largest cattle businesses in Douglas County. I also have owned a successful fence building business for 45 years, and I've been involved in law enforcement for 40 years and retiring as a commander here in Castle Rock and Douglas County. And I tell you these because it serves what I'm going to say here in a minute. As far as this bill, it has nothing to do, like it says, in reality, for the humanity of livestock, nothing at all. In fact, it's just the opposite. And I'm going to explain something that maybe some people don't understand, is that I can give you examples. If the size of a ranch, and a number of different sizes, but we'll take a size of a ranch that has 500 head of cattle. 500 head of cattle means pairs to me. It means that you have to have, it's 40 acres per animal unit per year to take care of them, which means it would take a 20,000 acre ranch to run that many cattle. So what we're saying is, according to this bill, is that you can't sell your cattle, your calves for 5 years. That means that the 500 head of cattle on 20,000 acres will multiply up to 2,500 head in 5 years. Where it becomes inhumane is what do you do with the cattle you can't sell because they got to be processed? You can't sell the cattle to buy winter feed. To feed a cow per day is 25 pounds per day, or actually 6 tons per day for this many cattle at $200 per ton, which equals about $1,200 per day to feed these animals. If you cannot sell the calves, you don't have the money to winter them. So what happens over this accumulated 5-year period? You have cattle that will be starving. Your ranch isn't big enough to carry them. So probably at about a year, you'll have to start either watching your cattle starve to death because you have no place to take them, or you start shooting them. I don't know how that's humane. I don't see any way that's humane. The other part of the problem is if you don't castrate your bull calves that are processed when they're about 18 months old, they naturally become bulls. The bulls and the heifers go in heat. What happens is that I'm a fence builder, and I build fences for a living for a long time. There's no fence, barbed wire fence, is going to hold bulls that are in heat. They will pass through any kind of fence to get to where the heifers are, and they're looking for love in all the wrong places. And I mean down on the highways, in your communities, on your streets. They will be out because you cannot contain that many animals under the circumstances. So what I'm saying is that this bill is not good. It's totally ridiculous. It makes no sense, and I don't know how else to word it. I can tell you that when animals get down on the highway, Commissioner Thomas, you were State Patrol, you covered many of those kind of accidents where animals were killed on the highway. Sadly enough, it also kills people on the highway. And I don't know where these people think they're coming from introducing these types of bills, because when you witness things like that, it's horrible. So I'm totally opposed to this bill for these reasons and many, many more, but I know I don't have much time to say it, so I want to thank each and every one of you for hearing me out, and I'd love to say more maybe afterward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Anyone else in the room who would like to address the board on our resolution opposing Initiative 16? Seeing no one in the room coming forward, Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online?
I have no hands raised, Commissioner.
Thank you, Troy. I'll bring it back to the commissioners. I'll close public comment. Comments from the commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments. I think first a note of gratitude to Ms. Lockwood and Mr. Anderson and all those that are members of the ranching and breeding community in Douglas County and elsewhere. Unfortunately, the proponents of this particular initiative would claim to be well-intentioned, but certainly don't understand the industry that they're attempting to regulate. We are very proudly in support of our ranching community in Douglas County and really want to honor and recognize those that breed horses and those that have the expertise to have done that for many years. So we thank you for your comments today, and I will be in support of the resolution opposing.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. Commissioner Teal.
Thank you, ma'am. Just as Ms. Lockwood reached out to you, she reached out to me, and I very much appreciated that. Another resident of Castle Rock who has been a pretty active citizen here in the town for several years now, a lady named Randy Garsk, also reached out to me, and she pointed out that the American Kennel Club is actually opposed to this as well, because there are a number of veterinary, well-accepted veterinary practices that actually this act would also ban. And so, you know, quite frankly, it's not just, because we probably have some folks in Highlands Ranch, Castle Rock, Parker, Castle Pines, who are sitting there going, I don't own a cattle ranch, why is this important to me? Well, it is important to you because even our own household pets would be regulated under this act. A very interesting perspective was given by one of our colleagues in Summit County in a conversation a couple months ago when this came up with Colorado Communities Incorporated. And she offered up, not only would this act interfere in animal husbandry practices and veterinary practices, but actually farm to table. How do you have a farm to table restaurant when the nearest farm with animal meat products is in another state? So this isn't just a rural issue. This is an issue that spans both the rural and the urban. I definitely would like to lend my voice in opposition to Initiative 16 and was proud to read the resolution today and definitely urge our support in approving our resolution in opposition.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. Our fellow Commissioner Byron Pelton from Logan County had specifically asked that he be able to come here today to tell us how awful Initiative 16 will be for the state of Colorado. He contacted me this morning. Logan County lost an employee to suicide last night, so Byron cannot be here. But he said, please let people know that if Initiative 16 gets on the ballot for 2022, that the National Western Stock Show will move out of Colorado. Byron was in a meeting with Mayor Michael Hancock from Denver. Mayor Hancock is strongly opposed to Initiative 16 because his city will lose the National Western Stock Show. If this passes, you will not be able to spay or neuter your pet because that is considered cruelty. So what we are doing this resolution so early because they are collecting signatures for this initiative right now. And we want citizens to know that this is not about taking care of your puppies. This is about ending the agriculture business in the state of Colorado. So do not ever sign a petition unless you absolutely understand what it means. The first step is keeping this initiative from getting on the ballot. I'd like to thank Mr. Anderson, Ms. Lockwood, and her husband, Billy Mayfield, for being here. We have got to let our neighbors know, do not sign this petition. So thank you, everyone. Any other comments before we take a motion?
Madam Chair, I'm wondering if you wanted to share the outcome of the business meeting at CCI with regard to this particular resolution.
Would you like to do so?
Sure, absolutely. So it may not be familiar to those listening in or those that often come before us, but we're actively involved with Colorado Counties Incorporated, which is 62 out of the 64 counties. In Colorado, we recently had a conference, and at the business meeting, there was uniform opposition to Proposition or Initiative 16 as well. So just know that your commissioners are actively working at Colorado counties. Our chair, Laura Thomas, serves as the secretary. We're honored to have her service there. But you have the counties throughout the state in support of you as well.
Thank you for reminding us about that, Commissioner Layden. Over half of the counties in the state have already done a resolution to oppose Initiative 16. So thank you for bringing that up.
Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution opposing Colorado ballot 2022 Initiative 16, titled Protect Animals from Unnecessary Suffering and Exploitation.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries to oppose Initiative 16. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Moving on to 4B. This is the First Amendment to Amended and Restated Waterton Boulevard Infrastructure Development Agreement. Matt Williams for staff.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Matt Williams with Public Works Engineering. Before you today is the First Amendment to the Amended and Restated Waterton Boulevard Infrastructure Development Agreement. This amendment proposes to change the provisions of the initial project funding in the current agreement. Currently, the agreement requires the Sterling Ranch Community Authority Board, also known as the CAB, to provide the county with cash prior to contract award to cover any amount of the project budget that exceeds the county maximum. Approval of this amendment would allow the Sterling Ranch CAB to secure their portion of the initial project funding with cash or a letter of credit. If a letter of credit is used by the CAB to secure the initial project funding, the CAB must make cash payments to the county when they become due as part of the county's standard construction and disbursement procedures. If the entire amount of the letter of credit is not drawn down by January 31st, 2022, the CAB shall replace the remaining amount of the letter of credit with the county with cash. Just to give you some milestones for the Waterton Road project, the project hit Rocky Mountain BidNet yesterday, June 14th. So the contractors are currently reviewing that. The bid opening is anticipated to be July 6th. The contract, if this is approved, will be coming back to you late July, likely July 27th, with a notice to proceed on August 2nd of this year. That concludes my presentation. Brock Smethills and Susan Beckman are here for Sterling Ranch to answer any questions, as well as I am.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for staff before we have applicants come forward?
I have none.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and have the applicants come forward. Good afternoon, Mr. Smethills.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Do I need to give my name? So Smethills, Smethills. My address is 8155 Piney River Avenue, Suite 200, Littleton, Colorado 80125.
And your first name?
Brock, B-R-O-C-K. So this application is in front of you predominantly so that the CAB, as Matt alluded to, can secure its obligations to the letter of credit issued by an institutional or large financial institution, predominantly so that the CAB can secure its obligation to construct the road. The CAB has already started construction, has completed the first couple phases of it, and is currently working on the wet utilities. Because the anticipated cash flow is such that the CAB's portion will not be due until next year, this just allows the CAB to use an interim security instead of cash, which saves ultimately CAB taxpayers funding and money on their side. So I appreciate your consideration and more than willing to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Smethills. Any questions?
I have no questions.
No questions.
No questions. Thank you. I'll open this up for citizen comment. Are there any citizens who would like to comment on this application? Seeing no one come forward, Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no hands raised.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the board. I'll close citizen comment for comments and/or a motion.
Well, I will just make the comment that, obviously the Waterton Boulevard Infrastructure Development Agreement is critical to advancing our transportation goals in the county. I'm thankful for the ongoing, really the work of our private sector partners in order to accomplish these important goals. I think equity and fairness is always important, especially with the private sector, to ensure that everyone is treated equally and able to contribute at the appropriate time. So I will be in support of this particular item.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. Commissioner Teal.
Yeah, I am in the support of it. I mean, this was a fairly new project for me when we went through a work session on this several weeks ago. And obviously, this is a new process with the letters of credit. So I know I had a lot of questions at the time, and I really appreciate staff for taking the time to kind of fill me in on what's kind of a new part of the new job for me. But there's no doubt. I mean, this is going to be a good addition to our road network here in Douglas County. I'm glad we're at a point where we can continue moving forward on it and bring it to completion. And so I as well will be in favor.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. I would like to thank staff. I know that Janet Herman and Matt Williams, probably Sean Owens and others, have been working on this for quite a while. The county got their portion open from Moore Road to Airport Road a year ago, is that right? So we're anxiously waiting to get this next portion done from Rampart Range Road to Moore Road so that the public in the Roxborough area can get to 85 much more quickly. So we are anxiously awaiting those bids to be opened up and the project to really get going. I think this is a good thing for our community, and I also will be in support. Already did.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion, if the board is prepared, to approve the First Amendment to amended and restated Waterton Boulevard Infrastructure Development Agreement, project file number DV 2018-415.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Congratulations and thank you. Mr. DeBoer, do you have any comments? Any commissioner comments?
I have none.
None today, ma'am.
I always like to go through the county manager's report and talk about something that was interesting. There are actually very many things in this manager's report that I found interesting. The one I'm going to talk about is the helicopter that the county pays to be parked out on Moore Road, just south of Titan Road, for fire mitigation and control. The county pays for that for about 6 weeks, starting June 1st. We take some time off during the monsoons, the rains we usually get in midsummer, and then the helicopter comes back for another 6 weeks or however long we need the helicopter there. I think it's a really interesting story that in 2019, June 29th, the pilot was just getting to work. So the helicopter is always parked on our property, and there is a motorhome that the pilots can stay in during the day. As he was coming into the office where his helicopter was parked that morning, he saw some smoke to the east. He called dispatch and asked them if they knew anything about the smoke, and they did not. So he went up in the helicopter, and as he was heading towards the smoke, dispatch let him know that Excel Energy had let them know that they had a fire that had started from one of their poles. So the helicopter was actually on that fire immediately dropping water. They were able to keep that fire contained so it burned up to the curb at backcountry, but no structures were lost. So we have example after example of how important and strategic that helicopter is that the county commissioners pay for. I think we're the only county that we know of that does to take such action. I think it costs maybe $3,000 a day for us to do that, and we think that's pretty cheap insurance. So there's more to be read on the county manager report. If you're listening, hop on that report and take a look. With that, I will close today's meeting. The next business meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 29th at 1:30 in the afternoon. Thank you.